It's Tuesday, October 11th. Hi, Cora. You're dead. We're not lying to you, although that was a popular opinion from kids on that side of the room, not pointing fingers. But just saying. We were getting a new book, so you'll just have to follow along. I would be giving you your copy, but if I tried to give it to you, it doesn't go through the screen, so just use your imagination. See to there, the books. You got the past. We're good to go there. We're going to talk about outsiders. As we go through it, this is going to be your book. You get to keep and love and cherish forever and ever. So you get to write in it, so use a highlighter, and you're going to write and make connections. It's a homework assignment we have coming up. It'll be after fall break, but connect things in there to your life, which I'll tell you about. We starts off talking about Paul Newman, who is like the hunky dude, who was also the voice of Doc, and then he also makes salad dressing, and apparently he was really good looking. And then we are now on page 2, as he is the main character, who we don't know his name yet, we're going to get there in a second, is leaving a movie house, and I apologize because I forgot to record because I've got a bad case of the kid crud, and my brain is all fuzzy. So I'm doing the best I can. Try not to laugh at me. And you better watch this since I'm recording it for you. Anyway, back to there. Soda tries to understand, at least, which is book. Oh, never mind, you don't have a book. Which is more than Derry does. But then, I don't know, Soda's different from everybody. He understands everything, almost. Like, he's never hollering at me all the time, the way Derry is, or treating me as if I was 6 instead of 14. I love Soda more than I've ever loved anyone, even Mom and Dad. He's always happy-go-lucky and grinning, while Derry's hard and firm and rarely grins at all. But then, Derry's gone through a lot in his 20 years, grown up too fast. Sodapop will never grow up at all. I don't know which way is the best. I'll find out one of these days. I highlighted the section there where it says that he's never yelling, because that's me. I try not to yell. And also the part where he says he never grows up. And that would be me also, because apparently I'm just a large child. Anyway, I went on walking home, thinking about the movie, then suddenly wishing I had some company. Greasers can't walk alone too much, or they'll get jumped, or someone will come by and scream, "Greaser!" at them, which doesn't make you feel too hot, if you know what I mean. We get jumped by the socials. I'm not sure how you spell it, but it's the abbreviation for the socials, the jet set, the West Side rich kids. It's like the term greaser. Sorry, I was trying to cover my mouth wiper. Which is used to class all us boys on the east side. We're poorer than the socials and the middle class, and I reckon we're wilder too. Not like the socials who jump greasers and wreck houses and throw beer blasts for kicks, and then get editorials in the paper for being a public disgrace one day and an asset to society the next. Greasers are almost like hoods. We steal things and drive old souped up cars and hold up gas stations and have a gang fight once in a while. I don't mean I do things like that. Derry would kill me if I got into trouble with the police. Since Mom and Dad were killed in an auto wreck, the 3 of us get to stay together only as long as we behave. So, Soda and I stay out of trouble as much as we can. And we're careful not to get caught when we can't. I only mean that most greasers do things like that. Just like we wear our hair long and dress in blue jeans and t-shirts, or leave our shirt tails out and wear leather jackets and tennis shoes or boots. Now, I'm not saying that either socias or greasers are better. That's just the way things are. With the 2 main groups they're talking about. So, the main characters, just to give you an idea of who it's going to be, we're going to find out in a moment. The main guy telling you the story, his name is Ponyboy. It's not a nickname, that's his actual name. His parents were just very creative people.
When you got Sodapop and Derry.
His brother is Sodapop. Again, that is his actual name. He just had some interesting parents. I'm guessing in the hippie area. And then Derry, or Daryl, is the oldest one, and that's just a normal name.
Yeah, Derry.
Two-Bit. And they're going to get to Two-Bit. That is a nickname, not his real name. His real name is Keith, and we'll talk about him. And then Johnny, Steve, and Dally. So, when they're talking about greasers who's...
looks like Elvis.
Yeah, who he considers himself to be a part of, there was a movie with John Travolta from way back in the early 80s called Grease, with the grease lightning and the dancing, and that's what they're talking about, with the black leather jackets, and they're called greasers because they would take literal grease and through their hair and like slick it all back. So they were called greasers because they greased their hair. And then they would, smoke cigarettes, look super cool like that guy, and then wear the black leather jackets. The other group is the socials, who they call the socias, who are a bit richer and more preppy. I did find a soc dog. I was typing in soc pictures, and the dog popped up, and I was like, done! And there's your soc doggy. And so those are the two groups that sort of fight each other in the book. Main character considers himself a greaser, and then the socias go around sort of making fun of them and attacking and being grumpy and being angry rich kids.
Car!
They're going to talk about the red Corvair in just a moment.
Bobby, no!
If you see Bobby running into a school, you know something's going to happen.
Oh, God. He's going to get hit.
I could have waited to go to the movies until Derry or Sodapop got off work, and they would have gone with me, or driven me there, or walked along. Although Soda just can't sit still long enough to enjoy a movie, and they bore Derry to death. That would be my youngest child who can't sit still to watch movies either. She jumps around and moves nonstop. Derry thinks his life is enough without inspecting other people's. Or I could have gotten one of the gang to come along. One of the four boys Derry and Soda and I have grown up with and consider family. We're almost as close as brothers. When you grow up in a tight-knit neighborhood like ours, you get to know each other real well. If I'd thought about it, I could have called Derry, and he would have come by on his way home and picked me up. Or Two-Bit Matthews, one of our gang, he would have come to get me in his car if I'd asked him, but sometimes I just don't use my head. It drives my brother Derry nuts when I do stuff like that, because I'm supposed to be smart. I make good grades, have a high IQ and everything, but I don't use my head. Besides, I like walking. I about decided I didn't like it so much, though. I spotted that red Corvair trailing me. I was almost 2 blocks from home then, so I started walking a little faster. I'd never been jumped, but I'd seen Johnny after 4 socials got a hold of him, and it wasn't pretty. Johnny was scared of his own shadow after that, and Johnny was 16 then. And I knew it wasn't any use, though. The fast walking, I mean. Even before the Corvair pulled up beside me and 5 socials got out. I mean, I got pretty scared. Kind of small for 14. Even though I have a good build, and those guys were bigger than me. I automatically hitched my thumbs in my jeans and slouched, wondering if I could get away if I made a break for it. I remember Johnny, his face all cut up and bruised, and I remember how he had cried when we found him, half conscious in a corner lot.
Where are the police?
Not around a whole lot. We're going to find out that in their neighborhood, the police don't really come around.
It's like crappy.
Johnny had it awful rough at home. It took a lot to make him cry. I was sweating something fierce, although I was cold. I could feel my palms getting clammy and the perspiration running down my back. I get like that when I'm real scared. I glanced around for a pop bottle or a stick or something. Steve Randall, Soda's best buddy, had once held off 4 guys with a busted pop bottle. But there was nothing, so I just stood there like a bump on a log while they surrounded me. I don't use my head. They walked around, slowly, silently, smiling. I think I put a picture here. Yeah. So they're going to be talking about this quite a bit, where they get into fights and they talk about busted pop bottles.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah.
break the bottom.
Yeah, they're not talking about like the plastic ones you guys get like in the machines now, because that's not going to do you any good. If you get into a fight and pull one of those things out and you're like, donk, 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 they're just going to laugh at you. But they're talking about the old glass ones, which is why I have my glass bottles up there, because after I would tell this, kids kept bringing me in glass bottles in case there's a student revolution. So I now have like a pickle-flavored one and a dog drool-flavored one.
Are they
like
expired?
I don't know. I wasn't going to drink them. It tastes like pickle and dog drool, so I think they were expired when they were made. So when you want to get into a
what
fight,
they taste like?
you
You've
take
never
a
eaten
bottle,
them yet.
smash it, and then you have a quick stabby weapon, and you can go stabby, stabby, stabby. So that's what he's referring to. All right, we'll go back to the car. There's the car. Hey, Grease, one said in an over-friendly voice. We're going to do you a favor, Greaser. We're going to cut all that long, greasy hair off. He had on a Madras shirt. I can still see it. Blue Madras. One of them laughed and then cursed me out in a low voice. I couldn't think of anything to say. There just isn't a whole lot you can say while waiting to get mugged, so I kept my mouth shut. You need a haircut, Greaser? the medium-sized blonde pulled a knife out of his back pocket and flipped the blade open. Last stop before we get to the zone. So their empty lot plays a big role, which is in a neighborhood where you could build a house but then don't. Like, that's an empty lot. They hang out there a lot. That's where he's getting ready to get attacked. Over in like Anderson Hall, before they built houses, they had empty lots. Which is like, you have a house and a house, like where you're eventually going to build a house, they have them there. I used to live in Woodbury, which is right over yonder, and they have empty lots they turn into parks. This was the same idea. So that's what they're referring to as empty lots. It's just like these little empty areas.
I live there.
Oh, in here? Actually, this is now a house, and I had a kid who actually it was his house. It was weird. I took the picture before the house existed, and he was like, I live in that spot. I'm like, that empty field? He's like, no, there's a house. So you live in the field? Go you. It's a good place. So when they talk about the Soch wearing Madras, this is the style of Madras. It was super popular.
It looked like underwear.
Abercrombie and Fitch brought it back a couple years ago, and kids were wearing it again, and then it's faded out a little bit again. So it's sort of like a flannel. I mean, what shawls and Lena are wearing is kind of Madras, but that's more like a flannelly thing. And the Madras was more like this rainbow-colored pattern thing that was popular. Rich kids.
That's the 60s.
I finally thought of something to say. No! I was backing up, away from that knife. Of course, I backed right into one of them, and they had me down in a second. They had my arms and legs pinned down, and one of them was sitting on my chest with his knees on my elbows, and if you don't think that hurts, you're crazy. I could smell English leather shaving lotion and stale tobacco, and I wondered foolishly if I would suffocate before they did anything. I was scared so bad I was wishing I would. I fought to get loose, and almost did for a second, and then they tightened up on me, and the one on my chest slugged me a couple times. So I lay still, swearing at them between gasps. The blade was held against my throat. How would you like that haircut to begin just below the chin? It occurred to me then that they could kill me. I went wild. I started screaming for soda, dairy, anyone. Someone put his hand over my mouth, and I bit it as hard as I could, tasting blood running through my teeth. I heard a muttered curse and got slugged again. And then they were stuffing a handkerchief in my mouth. And one of them kept saying, shut him up! For Pete's sake, shut him up! Then there were shouts and a pounding of feet, and the Soches jumped up and left me lying there, gasping. I lay there and wondered what in the world was happening. People were jumping over me and running by me, and I was too dazed to figure it out. And then someone had me under the armpits and was hauling me to my feet. It was Derry. You all right, pony boy? He was shaking me, and I wished he'd stop. I was dizzy enough anyway. I could tell it was Derry, though, partly because of the voice, and partly because Derry's always rough with me without meaning to be. I'm okay. Quit shaking me, Derry. I'm okay. He stopped instantly. I'm sorry. And I'm going to stop there. Have you guys found I'm assuming the part where it said getting mugged, and you guys were all highlighting that, and you were like, last weekend. Assuming you guys get mugged on a regular basis. So what connections have you guys made? Wally? No. Oh, nothing yet. Jada?
I got called crazy a lot.
I like how you meant that in past tense. That's good. Okay. Bryce Lee?
I make good grades and I have an IQ, but I don't use my head.
Who would that be referring to? Oh, just thought I'd check. Gussie?
When I see a movie with someone's kind of uncomfortable, that's with my grandma, because she always talks and asks questions. And then also, sometimes I just don't use my head. That's like my grandpa. And like good grades and high IQ, but don't think. Oh, that's me.
Okay, I was waiting for one that had to connect to you. I wasn't sure which one. Drago!
I highlighted Soda just can't sit still long enough to enjoy a movie because that's my brother, and I get really mad at him, so I don't let him watch movies with me.
Which one, the older one or the older one?
I don't have. I'm a twin.
Oh, I just taught the older Dragoo.
I don't have an older Dragoo.
Is that an older Dragoo?
No.
Oh, I taught an older Dragoo. I assumed they were connected to you. Nope, never mind then. I didn't know there was a different. Now I know. Things we learned. No, I've taught Dragoos. I assumed you were connected. Now I've learned.